Hello and welcome to another edition of Jewish Museum Milwaukee's Conversation Starters. Today we are honored and so appreciative to have with us Consul Julián Adem, who is head consul for the Consulate of Mexico, which physically happens to be located right on Prospect down the street from the Jewish Museum Milwaukee and the Milwaukee Jewish Federation building. So welcome, Consul Adem.
Well, I'm very appreciative for the opportunity that you're giving me. It's a great honor to be able to participate in this conversation starter with the Jewish Museum Milwaukee, and in particular with you, Ms. Dubin. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Well, thank you, as do we. So the consulate does such incredible and important work. And as we were just kind of talking, getting ready to start this conversation, we were saying what a kind of a challenging time this is. And we want to get into talking about why that is and some of the work that the consulate does and some of the very positive programs and initiatives that are in place. But before we do that, I was just hoping you could give us a little bit of background about yourself. I know the consulate, the one on Prospect at least, is fairly new. It was opened in 2016 and you were instrumental in establishing that. So a little bit about you, the background would be fantastic.
Yes, well, I'm a career member of the Mexican Foreign Service, and I've served in different capacities in consulates throughout the United States since 1994. I was the consul for legal affairs in Los Angeles, in our huge Los Angeles consulate many years ago, where I had the chance to work on cases defending Mexican nationals. I also was Deputy Consul General in Dallas, Texas, for almost 8 years. Afterwards, I spent 6 years in Mexico, doing different administrative jobs at the Foreign Ministry, but always in the area of consular affairs in a supervisory capacity. And most recently, before coming to Milwaukee, I was Consul of Mexico in Las Vegas, Nevada. And so I was given this challenge to open the consulate in 2016 in this state, which is not only does it have a significant population of Mexicans, we estimate about 300,000, of which 125,000 reside in Milwaukee County, possibly 85,000 in the city. The government of Mexico always tries to establish new offices where there's support, where there's the politicians and different groups of society are in favor of opening a consulate. So we had the support of the 2 US senators from this state, the support of all the congressional delegation, regardless of partisanship, and also the then governor of Wisconsin, Governor Walker. All these politicians signed off on letters to the then ambassador of Mexico and even to the president of Mexico, petitioning that a consulate be opened. And so it was that after more than 50 years of depending on the Consulate of Mexico in Chicago, the population of Wisconsin now has an office in Milwaukee, which covers the whole of the state of Wisconsin. And we serve the Mexican population, but as any consular office does, we serve them, giving them passports, basically. Passports like any consular agency would do, and also consular IDs. But we're also here to help American citizens who might require a work visa to go to Mexico, or foreigners who are not US citizens and who do require a visa to enter into the country. We also assist them. So we do different functions. And of course, we try and divulge our culture and our traditions. And so we have a cultural program. We also do economic promotion together with the assistance of the state of Wisconsin, the department in charge of commercial affairs, economics, the Economic Corporation, Development Corporation of Wisconsin. We, together with them, have been promoting different Mexican companies and helping U.S. investors go down to Mexico. So we're busy. We're not just a passport agency, as some people might think we are. We're here also we're open to U.S. citizens who need or require information or have certain paperwork to do regarding Mexico.
Well, wow, that's incredible. Just to step back, first I want to say how lucky we are as a community to have you here. You have worked with some immense Latin populations
Yes.
and communities all over the country. So to have you here and to know that, you know, it was the support that was, you know, the precipitation to this happening, and that this was something that very much our city and community wanted to have happen, because so often there's really a Midwest, you know, kind of a situation, and some of those consulates are,
Yes.
are in Chicago. So to have this here in Milwaukee community, and you know, to be here specifically for Milwaukee's Latin community is tremendous. And I so appreciate your kind of giving a little bit of an overview, because I think so many people pass that wonderful building. It's got some lovely historical architecture.
Yes.
And we look at the flag and we look at the facade, and I think, you know, there's a lot of interest in actually what work is done, what goes on behind those doors, what are the services and programs that are out there. So you're talking about the diverse breadth of those services and what you do, everything from, you know, legal to civil to cultural. It's just tremendous because, of course, all of those things are required
Yes.
to support and assist a cultural population.
And also, I want to add that we're also very much involved in promoting health. This is way before the unfortunate situation we're living today. Mexico, all the consulates, one of their tasks is to establish a relationship with the health authorities in the area which they serve. And so we work closely with the Department of Health for Milwaukee, and also the State Department. But and we've established an agreement with Aurora Health, the Aurora Health Group, to have an on-site staffer from that entity in the consulate every day from 9 to 12, giving information on different health matters, and also for people who do not have insurance and are requesting help about where to go, where to seek a provider. We, through this service that Aurora Health gives us, we are able to send them to clinics in the south of the city, on the 16th Street Clinic, and another one on Walker's Point, and here in Milwaukee. So this is another field where we're very much involved. And finally, I want to mention that we're not just here. We also do work throughout the state.
Yes.
Although we were interrupted by what happened this year, we've now started off our regular bi-monthly visits to different counties in the state to offer consular service on Saturdays and even Sundays. So it's a weekend marathon where a group of 6 to 8 individuals from the consulate will go and basically offer passports and consular IDs to Mexican nationals, but of course any other information that is requested, including information about health services. So we do get around. We have these visits, and in particular, when the situation is normal, I visit authorities throughout the state to interact with them and to let them know what we're doing, different sheriffs, different mayors. I want to say in particular that we've had full support from the mayor of this city, Mayor Barrett, and as well the mayor of Madison. Both the previous mayor and the current mayor have been very gracious. But in general, the mayor of Green Bay, Racine, Kenosha, all of whom I've met, have been very gracious and supportive of our efforts. So we try and keep a good relationship with everybody, because we don't know when a Mexican national will needs some assistance, and we'll go to their offices. And also the congressional field offices are very important. So we have a great relationship with the field office of Congresswoman Moore, just to give an example. But I've also visited the other congressmen, and all this before the pandemic. But their field offices now derive to us requests from Mexican citizens or U.S. citizens who have Mexican relatives. So there's there's a lot of public relations involved also.
Yes,
and that's part. And we of course are very close to the Hispanic community, and we have strategic allies, as we call them, and we are very, very honored that your agency is one of our strategic allies. I hope that's the politically correct term.
Oh, it absolutely is, and I couldn't agree more. So you're touching on something that's very important. You touched on several important things there. One being that there are populations in kind of rural areas that may not be able to get to the city, whether that's due to employment or transportation barriers. So the fact that you and the consulate are reaching out and physically going to these different communities, different cities, making them aware of the services that are available and making yourself available to them is so critical, because we know that the community is spread out throughout the state, which kind of leads me to, and we're going to get back into talking about health and some other issues in a minute, but one of the other key issues that the consulate deals with that I think ties to the spread out population as well is immigration and immigration rights, fair treatment. This has been a fundamental issue for the Latin population across the country and in Milwaukee. And over the past few years, this is a topic that has escalated and intensified in many ways. So I was hoping you could speak to us a little bit about how this is specifically impacting Milwaukee's community, and maybe about some of the initiatives that are in place or the evolving response in terms of the growing crisis.
Yes, well, one of our key allies here in Wisconsin is the chapter of the National League of United Latin American Citizens, LULAC, organization which held its national 90th conference. It was hosted by the city last year. It was a success. Our ambassador from Washington came here and gave a speech, a keynote. She was the keynote speaker. Mexico is one of our long-term goals is not only to make sure that currently people are being treated fairly in accordance with the law, and for this we visit detention centers, we visit jails on a regular basis, but we also are supportive of efforts to establish in this country comprehensive immigration reform. We know that's a long-term goal, and we don't get involved in policy making in the United States, but we are supportive because we think that is the best way for Mexican nationals who are working here and who are providing a lot of services and are extremely valuable, even insofar as taxpayers is concerned. And I just want to give you an example. You mentioned agriculture. Mexicans are basically key to all the farms in the state which produce different crops in the spring and summer, like just to give you an example, berries or apples.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a lot of people don't know this, but dairy farms, I know the dairy farm industry is in crisis. They depend a lot on the Mexican workers who are hired by the owners. And most of them are, of course, treated very respectfully. But unfortunately, the law currently does not provide for these immigrants to have the proper paperwork. So although they've been working for 10, 15 years, they've maybe accumulated a small capital, which they send to their families in Mexico. They might, after many years, buy a vehicle in order not to have to take the bus from their modest home to the dairy farm where they work. And maybe they fall behind in paying their annual registration or whatever, and they'll be stopped by a local police, and one thing will lead to another. And so we have sad cases of Mexican nationals, and of course nationals from other countries too, being put in deportation procedures. And this has occurred for many years. It's mm-hmm. nothing new. Mm-hmm. We think this is something that we together with organizations like LULAC, and of course here in this state, we have the support of the organization Voces de la Frontera, Voices of the Border, which does a wonderful job. It's Voices of the Border, but although the name may be confusing, but they're really working locally. They're working as a structure which works here. Voces is key. They give us a heads up on many situations which are going on. So we talk to different politicians about the situation. We know that in certain cases they will not be amenable to any kind of reform, but we want to make them sensitive to what's going on. What's going on? The fact that the state of Wisconsin depends on these 300,000 Mexicans to a great extent. Another example is Wisconsin Dells. Wisconsin Dells, you don't know it, a lot of people might not know it, but a lot of those service workers, the guys who keep up the landscape, maybe even the ones working in the hotels, are Mexican nationals. A lot are fortunate, they have paperwork, they have, the employers make a great effort to get visas. There's a program, an H-2 program, a visa program, but not sufficient. So in desperation, they sometimes have to hire people who are undocumented. And these are people who have the best of intentions. They just want to work. But what I'm saying is we have to be sensitive to how important immigrants are, all immigrants, not just Mexicans, all. So in this regard, we are also not here because we don't have other consulates, but in Chicago, for instance, our consul is closely allied to the Consulate of Mexico the Consulate of other countries, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras. They have regular meetings. They go to the authorities. They put forth the concerns of the Mexican community. So yes, what progress has been reached? We think that this year is a sad year. We've lost in this state 60 Mexicans to the virus. So far, we have a registry of 60 nationals who have died. And this is not even a sum of the whole number of Hispanics.
Right, right.
So if you have 800 people who are deceased in the state, it's sad to know that a lot of them were Mexicans, and we've helped transfer the remains, basically ashes, to Mexico. It's part of our efforts. We offer assistance to pay for the funeral home arrangements and all that for these sad cases, not only for COVID victims, but other victims too.
Of course.
Yes. So what you asked me, we're working, because last year's convention mentioned, for instance, the importance of education. Well, we're working with currently with MATC. We now have an agreement with MATC, so that MATC will provide, as soon as this the situation will allow for it, in-site services, so that people who come to this office, there will be a booth staffed by an MATC person who will give information on the education in Wisconsin, opportunities from preschool all the way to college. They will of course emphasize what MATC does for young men and women who want a technical career maybe, or a 2-year college en route towards the 4-year, but they're going to help us with everything. This is a knowledgeable person. That's the way this agreement was done. We're very aware of the importance of education, and the LULAC meeting last year stressed this. With regard to fair wages, for instance, we're working with the Department of Labor. Wage and hour is the area which we work with. We have an agreement with them. We have an agreement with OSHA, which is the one that handles health and anything regarding on-site sanitary conditions, which aren't well. We have an agreement with them. A lot of these agreements, we don't announce them. We don't make a lot of noise about them, because some sectors of the population maybe will feel uncomfortable. But we do work even with the federal government, the current federal government, in these matters, because they themselves don't want workers in danger. Nobody wants workers in danger. Nobody wants exploitation. So human trafficking, for instance, in cases of work, where people have been brought to Wisconsin illegally by unscrupulous, brokers, and put to work not only in farms but maybe in other locations. We've worked even with law enforcement on that. Many of them were Mexican, of course.
Right.
So as I was saying, in education, we've only just started, but we do also work with the local school district, the Milwaukee school district. One of our efforts is to participate in giving literacy classes, but in Spanish. Literacy classes to Mexican nationals who didn't have the opportunity to learn just to read or write. We want to open 2 or 3 small, we don't want a big bureaucracy, and we don't have the resources for that, but you can use the existing resources of different agencies, and one of them would be the Milwaukee school district, so that maybe in the afternoon classes can be given to parents in Spanish by a tutor. They have a lot of people from Mexico who are working in the district, together with the Mexican Institute of Education for Adults. So there's a whole syllabus, and this syllabus is done basically online in a computer lab, but with the guidance of a tutor. And so people from Mexico who didn't get a chance to learn to read or write properly, or only did 2 or 3 years of school because they were in a rural setting, will now have this opportunity. So these educational programs are for us very important, so that they can then also have the opportunity to understand better what their children are doing in school. Because if they don't know how to read or write, how can they help their children do their homework?
Absolutely.
So yes, for us, these matters which were brought up last year in LULAC are of the utmost importance. As we are also working with the census, with the U.S. For the 2020 census. We've been promoting people, well, for all Mexicans, on our different social networks, and of course also even on radio and TV. We've been trying, Hispanic radio and TV, trying to get people to fill in the information for the to be counted by the census. So for us, it's very important that Mexicans, regardless of their immigration status, participate in the census. So and we've had very good rapport with the people from the census. We've had several meetings, and Of course, and we also finally, I want to say that every year, every election year, we ask those people who have the privilege of being U.S. citizens, most of them dual nationals, that they go out and vote because it's their privilege. We don't, of course, mention any options. That's up to every individual. But we say use your power as a citizen to vote. Those Mexicans who have dual nationality and have the privilege of being able to participate in the U.S. political system.
So, wow, that was a tremendous amount of information and
Yes.
incredible. You kind of started that with talking about, the fact that last year Milwaukee had the honor and privilege of being the host of the 90th National League of United Latin American Citizens, LULAC. And many of the things that you just touched on there were key to that convention. And
Yes.
because Milwaukee hosted it, really to being a spotlight on Milwaukee and what was going on with the community here. You've talked a lot about some of the great programs and initiatives that have been in place. I can assume last year, as you said, there were a lot of things that
Yes.
were being developed, and it sounds like in the past year many of those have had an opportunity to be developed, put into action, unfortunately with some holds and blocks.
Yes.
Due to the pandemic, unfortunately. But you also, of course, mentioned the importance of exercising one's right to vote, and with the election coming up, that there is a big push to kind of assist with voter registration,
Yes.
which is so critical in getting the voice out and exercising one's right to vote and make one's thoughts and opinions known. Are there any specific initiatives that are taking place to encourage voter registration?
Well, at this time, we haven't yet moved forward on this. Of course, we work in accordance with guidelines from Mexico City, from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Of course.
So we've been busy with the census, where we've been making an effort to get people to be counted and to participate there.
Which really goes hand in hand, just the idea of being counted.
Yeah.
It goes hand in
But
hand.
I'm sure we will, of course, be making an effort to get people to, those of them, of course, who are nationals of dual nationals, because we can of course, those people who are Mexican citizens only do not participate in U.S. politics, but we can invite the people who have a dual nationality to vote. Yes, we will probably be making an effort and approaching maybe LULAC in the next few weeks in this regard, so that come November, more Hispanic vote. We know that this is one of the problems in the United States, that the Hispanic vote is sometimes, a lot of people don't have the proper interest in voting, and it's to their benefit to vote, but there is like a contradiction there, Right. I guess it's right. I guess it's part of people aren't always aware, or they've developed a sort of disinterest in political matters, and this occurs in every country.
Of course.
So not only in Mexico, it occurs. Excuse me, not only in the United States among minorities. This is very common in Mexico among a lot of underprivileged groups who also they just don't vote, and they're the ones who need to vote because they need their agenda to move forward.
Right.
Get politicians to push their agenda.
And so much of that is rooted in support. So yes. Just the fact that you and the consulate are here providing information, making yourselves available to provide information, to assist with understanding and navigating a system that that really can be difficult no matter what your no matter what your background or situation. So all of the services you do are so incredibly important. You of course talked about the wanting to work on voter registration as kind of
Yes.
an upcoming initiative. So much important work. I can't imagine how you tackle it all, but you certainly do. In looking to the coming months, what is the consulate have in the works, or what are you looking forward to in terms of being able to work on in the coming months?
Well, in September, early in September, we're going to carry out a virtual, let's say, event concerning labor rights. This is called, we traditionally do it in person. We open the consulate to the general public, and we invite speakers from agencies and trade unions, and even from specialized law firms, to come and talk to us about different labor rights. But this year, it's for us, it's new. For all of us, these technology, we've had these technologies for more than a decade, but we would use them sparingly. It was my case, or for personal purposes. I think this tragedy which has occurred in the world has pushed us forward technology-wise. And interestingly enough, a lot of Mexicans, although they may not own a computer, they all have a smartphone. So we've noticed that when we do presentations, for instance, on Facebook Live, we do get a sizable number of likes. Of course, we announce them beforehand. So we're going to be doing this labor rights, a series of events where different speakers will be interviewed by our staff, or maybe even by me, in September. We would send you the calendar for this event in a timely fashion, so that you can help us share it. Basically, in the context of this now economic recession, how have labor rights been affected? What options, alternatives do workers have, regardless of their immigration situation? How to avoid their rights being violated, knowing what the law offers you in your favor. We're going to be working on that. And we're also trying to, for later on in the fall, do the same, but with health. It would be an online seminar. We don't think we're going to get back to normal quite that soon, so we can't hold these events in person. We don't know until when. So we're also going to be doing a seminar on health, where experts from the health field, through our agency ally, Aurora Health, but also the Department of Health and Services from the state and from the county, city of Milwaukee in particular, but also Madison. We're going to be hosting an online event, possibly in October or November. And further ahead, we want to do the same, but with financial education. Financial education, where we get people from banks or insurance companies and different financial experts, people who work in tax agencies, etc. We try to, we will be working on an event where we try to educate people in these matters. Financial education is one of the most important things which people who immigrate to the United States have to learn. Even Americans have to learn this. I mean, this is a fact. We know that so many people, the way a national economy is managed is not, if you look at that, how a country moves forward, and then you reflect on your personal situation, you might realize that it's not too different. So if we all get into debt, or we all spend all our income and don't save for a rainy day, when there's a pandemic, there's going to be trouble. So people need financial education. And this is another subject which I didn't mention, but we're also keen to work on this. And finally, we're also trying to set up for the first time, and this is something new for me, that we will have options in the cultural field. We're going to be setting up a channel. So I'm told by my colleagues. We will have more information on this with my colleague Norma Sanchez, whom you may know.
Absolutely.
We're going to have a dedicated channel. Well, it's going to be on a platform in Mexico, where they have all the channels. It's going to be obviously online, but this channel, which will be the Milwaukee channel, they call it a channel, but it's not a TV channel. It's an internet channel. We are going to be opening our channel briefly. And I want to say that this conversation, which we've had, if the Jewish Museum does not have any, does not oppose it, we would share this once you've edited it and the final version that you bring out. We would also like to share it in this new channel, which will be opening up in August. And so people will have access from our web page or directly to the channel. And I'm looking at Norma right now. Is it correct? Yes. So we will inform you about this, but that's the cultural event. So we want people to be able to educate themselves culturally. And so we're going to have more resources online for the culture and tourists. And once the economy gets back in gear and people can travel, also in tourist matters. This, of course, we're working with the departments, the appropriate government departments in Mexico.
Absolutely. Norma had mentioned to me about this new channel and opportunity, which sounds so wonderful on so many levels. And of course, it would be our honor to have this shared on that platform. And it sounds like it is going to be a wonderful resource to share information, both in terms of rights, services, and of course, said the culture and tourism. The programs that you mentioned, the virtual programs that are taking place in the fall, sound absolutely incredible, and something we should all keep an eye out for. And you mentioned, of course, sharing a calendar of events so we can be sure to get the word out. So we, again, are so appreciative of your spending the time. I know you have a more than full plate. You're working on so many things. So thank you for being with us. We're also, with the information, that we're going to share online, we'll be sure to share the consulate's contact information. And once the new channel information gets out, we'll be sure to publicize that as well. And I just want to thank you for the critical work that you do and the way that you are supporting the Latin community here in Milwaukee. It really is a privilege to have you here and to be guiding the community. And we look forward to all of the things that we know will be coming to fruition, and just on a organizational level, for the Jewish Museum Milwaukee to be able to continue to collaborate with the Mexican consulate in bringing awareness and programming and culture, and is so relevant here. And you mentioned technology earlier, just getting everyone to stay connected during this difficult time. So thank you for helping us to stay connected. And we will look forward. There's so much here. We're going to have to possibly do a part 2. So we'll have to have a talk about that.
I'd be glad to. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And we'll be talking hopefully in not too long a period of time.
That's terrific. Thank you so much, Consul Adem, for being with us. Thank you to our audience. For more information about all the things we've got going on, visit jewishmuseummilwaukee.org. And of course, we'll have information about the consulate and their resources there as well.
Yes.
Thanks so much. Have a great rest of the day.
You too. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.